is astonishing. But if you've gone this far into the video, you now know more about him than most people do. There is a much shorter companion piece to this video in which I briefly explain how I made it, where I think this story fits in the broader anti-MLM sphere, and some tidbits that didn't make the final cut. So if you're interested, please check that one out. If you like what I do, the best way to help me is to watch another one of my videos. I've done several on the histories of ships and other nautical subjects. If you go to the deep dive section, which this video is a part of, you'll find some other very extensive explorations of various subjects. For example, I did a historical movie analysis on Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Another one,
your skill has increased,
Gladiator and Fall of the Roman Empire. I also have a long essay on the meaning of the Titanic disaster of 1912, and a two-part, very in-depth series on the John F. Kennedy assassination. My new book is out, a crime thriller called The Sun Thief. I have a Patreon, that's at patreon.com/SeanMunger. You can buy me a coffee. I have a Ko-Fi link. It's in the description to this video. And also in the description is a link to my website. It's just SeanMunger.com, where I teach history courses online, both free and paid, on a number of different subjects. So please do all the stuff you do for a video you like, hit the subscribe button, all that jazz. Thanks, as always, for joining me on this journey into the past.
You make me so nervous. The music's too loud. Yeah, I want to hear, this was good. I want to hear what he has to say. Manson, a geographic history, Iran-Contra explained. Oh, I've seen his stuff before, yeah. The meaning of the Titanic, Mr. Roberts, the backstory of a beloved film. History of urban poop. Did the U.S. bomb Bin Laden? Yes. Does anyone still believe in it? Conspiracy. No. Wait.
Hi.
Nope. Before. Oh my God. Is he? Wait. Did he? Wow. He killed that thing already. How did you kill that thing already? What is that? What is that?
Your skill has increased.
Charm him and get back on him. Yep. Go. Please don't kill me. No, don't kill me. No, it's Water God. Just run. Just run. Oh, thank God he didn't land it. He really wants me. He's coming. Sooner or later, the Exo Ray will get control. Will get his attention. That poison too is really bad. I gotta get it off me. Oh God, get it off me. Get it off me. Gotta run the other direction.
Your skill has increased.
Oh my God, I don't know if I can do it. Please get on him. Did you get him? Yeah, you did. I'm gonna put a blink up and I'm gonna sit down. What can he do? And this stupid X-ray. Or X-ray, I mean. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna sit right in your face. There's nothing you can do. The X-ray is kicking your ass. You're gonna fight, bitch. Yeah. Okay, so I want to see nautical. Oh no, is he coming? Oh no, the Exo-ray. No, the Exo-ray. The Exo-ray killed me. Oh well, that's okay. It was a really good run. I got like way more than I lost. You know, that was fun as hell. I got some money off of it. Yeah, I'm like right where I left for that XP party, but I'm up some money, you know, which is cool. Shit really is like a rogue. It plays like a rogue. It's like the most rogue game I've ever played. It'll suss you out. It'll take so long, and you're like, fuck, this thing's winning. No, the Exo-ray decharmed after like 20 seconds. Come on, man. You know, that kind of stuff. I was like surprised I went that long. Okay, cool. We got a stack of lightning crystals for 1,700. 16.99. And a stack of earth crystals. Those are going for 13. And Koiro meat. And this water cluster. Nice, that was some money. Maybe this silk thread, yeah. Not bad, not bad. And yeah, we'll put all the rest of it away. And now I have out-leveled. Jeez, I'm just kicking ass on all the games that I play. I'm doing so well. I think I'll play some Fallout 76 now. I think that'll be amazing. Yeah. What a good night. I got a lot of XP. I went from level 49 to level 52. Not bad, you know, on a BST. It's fucking sweet. Fucking sweet. I'm getting up there now. Now I could kill some leeches for some pure gil. But yeah, I'm done with this game for today. I think this will be a shorter session today. I will play some Fallout 76 now. Yeah, we're going to change it. Fallout 76 now. And change the title. What is this? What is this? Okay. Cool. And we will do some Fallout 76. Oh, I got so much done tonight. Yay. I feel like I got a lot of shit done. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Alright. So, fire up that 76. Oh, yeah. Oh, you got rid of my embed, huh? Yeah, you did. Fucking annoying. Anyways, mute. And then... Yes, go live. And mute. And then go... Go live. Yes, play. And go live. Yeah, go live. Yeah. And then, cool. And then we will go play some Fallout 76. Yes. Captain Cosmo's power armor. Oops. Okay. Hey, cool. Ooh. Wait, go back. Ooh, large vault tech supply package. Nice jackpot. Cool haul rack. Yeah. 150 atoms. Nice. And a diamond paint circuit breaker. Gotta remember before the thing ends. Oh, can I use these? Yes, I want to increase my score booster. Yes. And, hey, cool. I'm gonna get 1,000 caps. Yeah, this seems sweet. Alright, gotta go to the atomic shop. Oh, you have turned off the music, and I want it. I want it. No, the menu music is off. Yeah, never mind. That's okay. Oops. We'll go into the game. It's fine. Alright, now, let's see. What if Reagan had died in 81? It's an interesting thing, yeah. Franklin Pierce, the saddest president.
On January 6, 1853, a bitterly cold day in New England,
nerds.
a steam train pulling a single passenger car left the Andover, Massachusetts station bound for Concord, New Hampshire. There were several passengers in the car, among them the President-elect of the United States, Franklin Pierce, his wife Jane, and their 11-year-old son, Benny. The Pierces were returning from seeing friends in Amherst over the holidays. We're not sure exactly what happened to the train, but some kind of accident caused it to derail. The passenger car tumbled down an embankment and landed on its roof. It happened pretty much right here, on this stretch of track, though the terrain has undoubtedly changed since 1853. The president-elect and his wife weren't badly hurt, but as the train crashed, a piece of metal struck Benny in the forehead. It literally sheared off the back of his skull. There was nothing Pierce or his wife could do. They watched their son die right in front of them. The only saving grace was that he was killed instantly and didn't suffer. Benny was their last surviving child. Pierces had a baby boy who died shortly after birth. Their second son died of typhus at the age of 4 in 1843. Almost all parents in the 19th century suffered the deaths of children. the Pierces had suffered more than their share, and this one was particularly horrible. It was 2 days short of 2 months before Pierce was set to be inaugurated as the 14th President of the United States. Jane was overcome with grief at Benny's death and did not accompany her husband to Washington at first. In fact, the inaugural ball and other festivities traditional upon the installation of a new president were canceled out of respect for Pierce's personal grief. Pierce even made a brief reference to his family tragedy in the first sentence of his inaugural address. Pierce was escorted to the White House by the outgoing president, Millard Fillmore, and then he, Pierce, spent the day greeting visitors and well-wishers. The crowd trashed the place, tracking mud onto the carpets and leaving dirty dishes everywhere. The White House servants were gone and the house had not yet been made ready for the new first family. When the reception ended, Pierce and his private secretary, Sidney Webster, made their way upstairs by candlelight. They crashed in whatever beds they found were made up. This was the inauspicious beginning of Franklin Pierce's administration. I chose to begin this video an in-depth look at the very sad life and disastrous
through all of my
presidency
perks.
of Franklin Pierce with these stories, because I think they really bring home the tragedy, failure, and bad luck that has shadowed Pierce all throughout American history. I'm going to go back and talk about Pierce, his background, how he came to be president, and of course what happened during his single term. But to get a real sense of how this story goes, you need to know these tragic and unusual circumstances under which his presidency began. Hi, I'm Sean Munger, and welcome to another deep dive history video. You may wonder, given my track record, I've done videos on historical analyses of popular movies, lots of nautical and ship-related topics, a recent one on the Iran-Contra scandal. You may wonder why I'm doing this, an in-depth biography of one of the worst and most forgettable presidents
Come on, man, I
of the
cannot
United
move.
States, Franklin Pierce.
Couldn't do anything, couldn't shoot,
Whenever
couldn't do anything at all.
historians rank U.S. presidents, a game I have no interest in playing, quite frankly, Pierce usually winds up within about 2 rungs of the bottom. He served one term from 1853 to 1857, was not re-elected or even renominated by his own party, and quickly sank into obscurity. He is usually blamed, not unfairly, for exacerbating a lot of the problems that brought on the Civil War, only 4 years after he left office. Pierce is less a personality in history than he is a trivial pursuit question. I am incredibly fascinated by Franklin Pierce, why he was such a failure, and what his failure as president can tell us about the times he lived in. I think we can learn a lot more about the presidency from the stories of the men who've done it badly than we can from the guys who were really good at it. Your Lincolns, Washingtons, FDRs, etc. And I think you might find it an interesting story, because unless you happen to know a lot about Franklin Pierce already, which is pretty unlikely, you're not going to know what happens next in this story. There's also a human angle, a personal angle to the story that's absolutely devastating. I think it's hard to find any U.S. president who had a sadder life than Franklin Pierce. In addition to being the saddest president, while it's hard to quantify these things, I think he also qualifies as one of our drunkest, even surpassing champion drinkers like Ulysses Grant and Pierce's own successor, James Buchanan. Now, this is not to make light of alcoholism, which is a serious disease and generally not the fault of the person who suffers from it. Indeed, when we're done, you may have quite a lot of sympathy for why Pierce turned to the bottle. The subject of alcohol in 19th century America is itself pretty interesting, and you have to admit that Pierce has a lot to contribute to that history. There is very little material on Franklin Pierce available on YouTube. If you do a search for his name, you'll bring up considerably more videos of sporting events at schools named after Franklin Pierce than you will videos about the man himself. So clearly there is a need for this. Mine is, I believe, the longest and most in-depth examination of Pierce on YouTube, at least the longest that's not just a recording of a lecture or a PBS documentary or something. The one exception might be Peter Ray's series on him from a couple of years ago. Almost all the material about Franklin Pierce on YouTube is short capsule summary type of stuff, and almost all of that exists for the sake of completeness, meaning videos specifically about Pierce are done because the content creator does a lot of stuff on US presidents generally, and Pierce is simply on the list. Mr. Beat. So if you're looking for a reason to spend a considerable amount of time watching this video, this is it. You're not going to get it anywhere else. I am not looking to rehabilitate Pierce's historical reputation, as some historians who've studied him have attempted to. Yes, I see you there, Peter Wallner. I think Pierce was an awful, awful president who probably never should have been elected. But he was,
Wow.
and despite his failings, I think his story is pretty poignant. I also confess I have a personal interest in Franklin Pierce. Years ago, I wrote a short story that involved him as a character. That story is publicly available, and if you're still interested, at the end of this video, I'll tell you where you can get it for free. This is a very long video,
Nerd.
and I don't expect people to watch it all the way through in one chunk, though if you do, more power to you. What I suggest you do is bookmark it, and then work your way through it, chapter by chapter. Do pay attention to the chapters. I've organized them by subject, and they're clearly marked in the description. So if you're ready to delve into the tragic, frustrating, alcohol-sodden life of Franklin Pierce, let's get to it. First, we have to understand the country and the world that he was born into, because it explains a lot about who he eventually became. We're going to be visiting many places in the course of this journey, and I think we have to start many years before the birth of Franklin Pierce in this place. This is Boston, specifically the monument on the site of the Battle of Bunker Hill, which took place on June 17, 1775. This was one of the opening battles of the American Revolutionary War. The shooting between colonials and the British had begun 2 months earlier, on April 19th, in Lexington. On that day, or shortly after it, someone came out into a field in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, to tell a young farmer, Benjamin Pierce, only 17 at the time, that the war had begun. Legend has it that Pierce immediately dropped what he was doing and walked off the farm to join up. Whether this specific story is true or not, Pierce did serve and he did fight here at Bunker Hill. Benjamin Pierce also fought here at Saratoga, one of the pivotal battles of the war, in the fall of 1777, and he endured the terrible conditions at Valley Forge, where Washington's army was camped and desperately short on supplies the following winter. Basically, if you wanted an unimpeachable origin story for a dyed-in-the-wool American patriot, these are exactly the kind of credentials that you would want. What this sort of origin story did for Benjamin Pierce and the family that he began soon after the war was to position them as the political elite in the new United States. He was unimpeachably part of the revolutionary generation. Generations are very important to Franklin Pierce's story. After American independence was won from Britain, Pierce settled in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, that's where we are now, by the way, and eventually built this house in 1804, the year of Franklin's birth. By that time, Benjamin had several political positions in New Hampshire, and in fact was on the governor's council at that time. Franklin was his 6th child. Because this house hadn't quite been built yet at the time he was born, he was actually born in a log cabin that stood out back of where this house was located. He was born in November 1804, the same month that Thomas Jefferson was re-elected as President of the United States. I'm going to talk about the politics of this era in a minute. That's important too. Franklin's revered older brother was Benjamin Kendrick Pierce. He was 14 at the time Franklin was born. Not bad looking, eh? You might make a comparison to a young Robert Downey Jr. Yes, Franklin Pierce was the younger brother of Iron Man. Good looks run in the Pierce family, by the way. As you can plainly see, Brother Ben was a military officer. He joined the army just before the War of 1812 and was in several major battles. Franklin grew up hearing stories of his brother's heroism in the War of 1812. Yes, he had another older brother, John Sullivan Pierce, who also served in that war. Probably a name mentioned in these stories was Winfield Scott, a young military officer who rose high in the ranks during the war and who commanded American forces at the Battle of Lundy's Lane in July 1814, a battle in which Benjamin Pierce participated. Scott would eventually be the presidential candidate whom Franklin Pierce would defeat in 1852. I just can't resist mentioning that the Battle of Lundy's Lane is talked about obliquely in one of my all-time favorite movies,
yeah, Gangs
Martin
in New York.
Scorsese's criminally underrated 19th century gangster drama, Gangs of New York, from 2002. Anyway, that's an aside. Back to Franklin Pierce. In 1820, when he had not yet turned 16, Franklin Pierce went off to Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. This was a tiny, tiny school in 1820,
Oh, damn it.
but very prestigious. This is Bowdoin College, by the way. Very quintessentially New England, ivy-covered wall type of place. Pierce met a number of important people at Bowdoin College, and people with whom Pierce's life would intersect, directly or indirectly. For example, poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow was in the class behind Pierce. In that same class was Calvin Ellis Stowe, who would go on to teach at Bowdoin College. Stowe would eventually marry Harriet Beecher, who in 1852 would write the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin about slavery, and which would cause President Pierce some grief. Pierce reportedly copied test answers from Stowe. Pierce also befriended Jonathan Cilley, that's Cilley, who would eventually get elected to Congress from the state of Maine. The most important friend that Pierce met at Bowdoin, though, was Nathaniel Hawthorne. The eventual author of The Scarlet Letter and The House of Seven Gables was a year behind Pierce, but the two basically became best friends. You'll see Hawthorne pop up again later in our story. For all the academic star power assembled at Bowdoin College, Pierce was an utterly abysmal student, at least at first. He vastly preferred fishing and hiking to studying, and was literally last in his class by the end of his sophomore year. He and his friends also had a habit of sneaking out of their dorm and going to a nearby tavern, where they got utterly bombed on numerous occasions. This is the first appearance of alcohol in Franklin Pierce's life story, and it's worth a few words. Some historians, like Michael Holt, author of an important source for this video, stop short of labeling Pierce an alcoholic, arguing that, quote, it is impossible to render a definitive diagnosis, while admitting that there is considerable evidence for it. I'm not so gun-shy. Pierce was an alcoholic. His heavy drinking is well documented throughout his life, especially for the end of it. I think it's safe to label Pierce an alcoholic in part because, in general, Americans drank vastly greater amounts of alcohol in the early 19th century than they do today. Historians estimate that the average American consumed about 7.1 gallons of alcohol yearly in 1830, less than a third of Americans' average intake in the early 21st century. 7.1 gallons. That is a staggering amount of booze. So anyone who gained a reputation as an alcoholic in the early 19th century means they were imbibing amounts that would be absolutely off the charts by modern standards. So yes, Franklin Pierce was an alcoholic. I don't think there's any question of it. Those marks at the end of sophomore year evidently scared him straight. By that I mean he certainly didn't quit drinking, but Pierce did double down to improve his academic performance. Instead of copying test answers from Harriet Beecher Stowe's future husband, Pierce started getting up at 4 a.m. every morning to study. It worked. In 1824, Franklin Pierce graduated 5th in his class of 14. After living at home for a little while after graduation, Pierce went to live in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in 1825, where he read law with a man named Levi Woodbury, future Supreme Court Justice. I just used a phrase there, reading law, that might be unfamiliar to you. The way somebody became a lawyer in early 19th century America is considerably different than the way it works today. You didn't go to law school, graduate, and then take the bar exam.
No, you just told them you were a lawyer. You were told them you were a barrister.
There were no law schools in America in 1825.
No bar or anything.
Law was a profession that was learned by apprenticeship, kind of like learning to become a shoemaker or a blacksmith. A promising young student would work in the office of a hometown lawyer who would teach him the law and how to read cases and things like that, and then also use that apprentice as cheap labor in their own practice. Almost all the early US presidents were lawyers who were trained more or less in this manner. If you weren't a merchant or a business owner, being a lawyer, especially in a small New England town, was one of the surest ways to prosperity in this time. It was also a pipeline into politics, especially in a family like Pierce's. Levi Woodbury was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1825, shortly after Pierce got there, so he had to find a new mentor. He went to Amherst and read law with another attorney. While he was reading law in Amherst, Franklin made the acquaintance of a young lady, Jane Means Appleton, 2 years younger. They don't appear to have started dating at this time. They called it courting in the 19th century. That would come later. Franklin Pierce was admitted to the bar in Hillsborough County, New Hampshire in 1827. That was the same year that his father, Benjamin Sr., was elected governor of New Hampshire. He was a strong Democratic Republican, yes, that's the name of the party, and his son Franklin was too. So here's what's going on with the parties. Between the time of the rise of political parties in America in the 1790s and the time Andrew Jackson began shaking up the political scene some 30 years later, there were two major political parties, the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. Federalists were generally the party of merchants, banks, and moneyed interests. Democratic Republicans claimed to champion small farmers and the common man, though most of its prominent politicians, like Thomas Jefferson himself, were aristocratic Southern planters. The Federalist Party faded in the later 18-teens and 1820s, especially at the national level, though some Federalists could still be found in New England. The real competition was now within the Democratic-Republican Party, and that competition broke into the open in the 1824 election season. Though they were both nominally Democratic-Republicans, John Quincy Adams faced off against war hero and wannabe genocidal maniac Andrew Jackson. Adams, whose father was Federalist President John Adams, was thought to favor northern commercial interests and especially federal spending on internal improvements, turnpikes, canals, and stuff like that. Jackson was a Tennessee slave owner, representing the West,
Oh, good.
which in the 1820s could still be defined as including Tennessee. Banks and money issues were very important in this period, as well as the procedure of allowing the state to license limited liability business organizations, corporations. Jackson was very opposed to that kind of thing. The 1824...
Okay, I am going to stop a little bit early here, guys. I am tired, and I think it was a good session, but I'm going to stop. I am tired, and I'm going to stop. And I feel like I'm not being very entertaining, and I think I'm best longing for bed. And so, just a reminder, you've been watching skycat.live. We are 9.5 hours into a session, and I did an 18-hour session the day before. So between the two, we're going to call that what is that? That's a 27-hour session in 3 days. And I'm sorry to bail out on you, but I am tired. You've been watching skycat.live, and just a reminder, come to skycat.live and click on the cat face to donate, or you can come to the Twitch and you can sub to me, or you can go to the YouTube and you can watch me there. And this video in its entirety will be posted to my channel tomorrow, today. And that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for your time. I love you guys. You have a wonderful day. Stay warm out there during this storm. And I know I'm going to curl up in a nice electric blanket and sleep. It's going to be nice. I love you guys. Have a good day. Take care.